Mr. Caparelli,
Here.
Mr. Cox.
Here.
Mr. Crompton,
Here.
Mr. Dillon,
Here.
Ms. Fide,
Here.
Mr. Kella,
Here.
Mr. Rosanellis.
Here.
Thank you. We will start with approval of the minutes from the July 16th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting. Meeting.
Do you have a motion for the minutes?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Cox.
Aye.
Mr. Crompton,
Aye.
Ms. Fide,
Aye.
Mr. Kella,
Aye.
Mr. Rosanellis.
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli,
Aye.
Mr. Dillon.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding items listed on the agenda. We do have a maximum 4-minute speaking section.
Hello, my name is Ellen Blondell. I live in the New Fairfield neighborhood, down the street from the proposed area of the, I believe it's gas and fuel, on Route 6 in Cooper. I just feel in opposition because this is a completely residential area. There is no other businesses near us. This is also across from the Nature Preserve Trail. It would kind of take away from that scenic area by putting, you know, something with bright lights and gas station, lots of traffic, and taking away from that. There's also already a gas and fuel being put in up the road at 159th and Gallagher. There are signs out there that there's new construction for the same gas station, as well as there's a gas station on Route 6 near 355. So I know a lot of my neighbors agree. They were on the, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the neighborhood. It's like an app where you post things. There were a lot of other neighbors that were in opposition and said they had emailed in about this, but I just wanted to come in and voice my opposition to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments. Oh, I'm sorry.
Also, my name is Benny Creighton. I'm also a resident of New Fairfield subdivision. Our subdivision is less than a half mile from that location. That's a completely residential neighborhood. It's going to have increased traffic in that area. We also have a nature preserve right across the street from that area where a lot of families that have kids, very small kids and their pets, they walk that nature trail daily, and having that increased traffic flow right there is going to cause safety issues with residents in that area, because also a lot of individuals, because the parking lot is small, they park along the street next to that nature trail as well. So with that gas station there and that extra flow of traffic, it's just going to cause a lot of safety concerns, in my opinion, for individuals in that area. And so if we could, because there's a gas station a quarter-mile post from that location, so the need to have a gas station there is completely unnecessary. A stoplight, yes. Gas station, no.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matt Berry. I'm a citizen of Joliet. I am residing in the PD Highlands neighborhood, so we're right across the street from the proposed site. One of the things that I was looking at when I heard about the proposed gas station being put up is that they have a gas station 2 miles down to the east already, the Gas and Wash. This has not caused any issues with anyone that I've known as far as like getting gas. The other thing is that more importantly, the environmental impact that it's going to have. When you have a gas station and gas is being exposed to air, it's releasing benzene, and that contributes to ozone, which actually affects people's respiratory systems as well as contributing to asthma. The other thing that can be of concern is that there's a probability that these, the gas tanks underground can leak into the water supply. So this is a pretty big concern as far as like what I have in the area. The other thing I was thinking about is how I don't want to go outside and smell gas when I'm just trying to enjoy my day. So research has supported this. So this is definitely a concern, especially since there is one already at 159th and Gallagher and on Route 6 in Cedar. Doesn't seem like we really need a gas station. We're also in a pandemic, so building gas stations right now is probably not a priority when we have infrastructure things going on, as well as other things that could be of assistance to the community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Okay, our first item under old business public hearing is A6-20, A7-20, P3-20, and FP-220. Annexation of 4.19 acres located at the southeast corner of Route 6 and Gallagher Road. Classification to B3 general business zoning and approval of an annexation agreement. Annexation of 0.58 acres located at the southeast corner of Route 6 and Gallagher Road. Classification to B3 general business zoning and approval of an annexation agreement. A preliminary plat of gas in wash Route 6 at Gallagher subdivision, and a final plat of gas in wash Route 6 at Gallagher subdivision, Unit 1. The applicant in this matter is Leonard McInerney. He is the contract purchaser and developer. Owners of the A6-20 parcel, Terry and Judy Jacobs. The A7-20 parcel would be Eric Sains and James Ledwell. Requested action would be approval of an annexation, classification to B3 zoning, annexation agreement, and preliminary and final plats of subdivision. The purpose is to develop a commercial subdivision. The existing zoning is A1 agricultural, unincorporated Will County. Proposed zoning is B3 general business. The location is the southeast corner of Route 6 and Gallagher Road. Annexation and final plat encompasses 4.77 acres. The preliminary plat encompasses 20.4 acres. Existing land use would be undeveloped and farmstead property, surrounding land use and zoning. To the north is residential, A1, unincorporated Will County. To the south is a church with the R1B residential zoning for Joliet. To the east is residential R2 single-family zoning in Joliet. And to the west is residential R2 in Joliet and A1 in unincorporated Will County. We could find no previous cases under site history. Special information: the annexation, zoning, and subdivision proposal would allow the development of a gas and wash fueling center. The preliminary plat includes two lots that include 20.4 acres. Lot 1, which includes approximately 4.22 acres and is contained within the Unit 1 final plat, will be annexed in Zone B3 general business. The future fueling station and car wash is intended to be constructed on this lot. Outlot A, which includes approximately 15.6 acres, will not be annexed and will remain in unincorporated Will County. The farmstead facility will remain on this site as well. Access to the fueling center site is being proposed with one fuel access on Route 6 and one full access on Gallagher Road. The full access to Route 6 is subject to Illinois Department of Transportation approval. The stormwater detention system for the fueling center site will be contained on Lot 1 and will be protected by a public utility and drainage easement. Some terms within the annexation agreement will address the following. 1, the permitted use for fueling and car wash use on Lot 1. 2, compliance on architectural design with the city's non-residential design standards. 3, compliance on site and landscaping plan with city landscape ordinance that will include a 20-foot wide landscape buffers along Route 6 and Gallagher Road and Zone 2 plantings. 4, allowance for a 10-foot high solid fence along the south property line. 5, compliance on monument and wall signage. 6, Gallagher Road and Route 6 dedication of right-of-way and improvements. And finally, eligibility to negotiate a recapture agreement to recover a portion of the sanitary sewer lift station and force main construction cost on adjacent future developers. It should be noted that the proposed annexation agreement shall only take effect upon the closing of the parcels by the owner or its assignee, affiliate, or subsidiary within 60 days of the annexation. If the owner does not close on parcels, the city shall adopt an ordinance disconnecting said parcels from the city. The B3 zoning request is appropriate for this location at the Route 6 and Gallagher Road corridor. All public improvements, sewer and water connection fees, and the developer's impact fee will be required. Detachment fees have previously been paid for, and that would be the New Lenox Township Library and Fire Districts. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have the petitioner on hand?
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Lyman Seaman. I'm the attorney for Leonard McHenry. And Mr. McHenry is the sole member of Lenny's Gas and Wash, Route 6 and Gallagher Road LLC, which is the entity that will be developing this property. As was indicated, we're currently under contract to buy 2 parcels of property. The hard corner, which is approximately 5/10 of an acre, I think it's 0.58 acres, and the property surrounding that, which is approximately 4.2 acres. The total acreage for our development will be almost 4.8 acres. This property is kind of unique in the sense that it is at the intersection of a U.S. Highway Route 6 and a county freeway, which is Gallagher Road. Initially, when we came in and met with Planning Commission, we were looking to do a little bit smaller parcel than what currently is before you today, but since the Gallagher Road is designated as a county freeway by the Will County Department of Highways, it was necessary for us to go in and acquire additional property. And if you look at this, if you look at the preliminary plat and final plat of subdivision, you'll see there's a little leg going south of the main body of property along Gallagher Road. This was necessary to accommodate the Will County Department of Highway so that we could keep adequate distance of our entrance from the intersection of Route 6. So for your record, I would just like to indicate that the petition for annexation was filed, included the 0.58 acres on the corner and then 3.5 acres around it. Since then, we have amended the preliminary and final plats to include the additional 0.7 of an acre. And that correction will be incorporated into the annexation agreement. We think this is an ideal site because of its location with the U.S. Highway and on the county freeway for our operation. We have adequate room. We're looking to build a gas station, convenience store, car wash. Everything will be essentially in compliance with City of Joliet codes and ordinances. We've met on numerous occasions with staff to refine the layout from time to time. And what you have before you today, as illustrated on the preliminary and final plats, are the existing site plan and the layout of the development. I'm accompanied by our civil engineer, Brian Hertz, and also by our architect and land planner, Scott Pritchett, with Arsa Snyder Associates. If you have any questions relating to engineering, landscaping, signage, architecture, anything along that line, we'd be more than happy to address it. And other than that, I would be more than happy to address any questions you may have of me.
Okay, before I ask questions, does anybody in the commission have any questions or concerns they'd like to bring up?
I have a couple questions, just confirming it, this is passenger vehicles only?
It's not passenger vehicles only. There's some truck fueling on the south side of the building. If you look at it, you'll see a fueling lane for diesel. But obviously, there's not a lot of trucks that go up and down Route 6 at this location or up and down Gauger Road at this location. Primarily, that's to segregate the diesel users from the typical gasoline users, which will be located on the north side of the property, so we can keep those separated. Most of our diesel sales will be typical landscape trucks, delivery vehicles, things of that nature. There might be an occasional semi that would come down here, but nobody's going to be leaving the city of Joliet downtown or the interstate to come to this location specifically to fuel up a semi-truck. It's strictly to handle whatever traffic currently exists in the area. And typically with gas stations, it's not really a destination, it's a convenience to people passing by. So we derive the very vast majority of our business from pass-by traffic. And there were a couple of emails that were sent to Mr. Torrey and I believe distributed to you prior to the meeting from two other neighbors in the subdivision, I believe across the street. And they were concerned about delays and backup and what have you at the intersection. But the intersection improvements are being handled by IDOT. They're already under contract. The work will be scheduled to begin whenever IDOT can see fit. They've already chosen a contractor and awarded a contract. But there's going to be signalization, there's going to be turn lanes and things of that nature that would accommodate some of the issues that were raised by the adjoining property owners.
Will that be put in before you guys go operational?
I don't know how quick IDOT will move, but our engineers, excuse me, our engineers there maybe has a better handle on timing, but we're looking probably to start construction in the springtime, and if that be the case, we're intending to go operational sometime in the fall of next year.
You guys are adding the extra lane for
Pardon
the
me?
entranceway?
This is Brian Hertz, our civil engineer.
You're adding an extra lane here on this, for the entranceway?
For the full access on Gauger Road?
Yeah, so there's not backup at the,
Correct. We have to provide a left turn lane. We also have to provide a right turn deceleration lane to serve that full access.
and what's the distance of the lane? I can't tell by this map.
The distance of the lane.
Yeah, how long?
215 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, 215.
About right,
15, 220 paper.
in the paper,
220.
another
215.
so.
This is a 24-hour facility?
Yeah.
I have another traffic question. Is this a designated ambulance route since the hospital's nearby there? And is there any development of the shoulders there on Route 6
So they can.
so they can pull over for the ambulance?
I'm not familiar with specific shoulder requirements for that, but with the improvements for Route 6, they're going to be doing curb and gutter and their shoulder improvements, I know, that extend some distance to the east. It stops short of our frontage. It's probably about halfway across our site.
What's your plan for the rainwater runoff? Where is it gonna go?
Yeah, so on the east side, you can see there's like a cross-hatched area. That's all gonna be underground detention chambers under the pavement. And those will discharge back up towards Route 6. There's a box culvert towards the northwest corner of the site that takes drainage from our site.
Okay. Question, I don't know, because somebody brought up concern about the tanks. What are tanks made out of nowadays? What, that they put in the ground?
Double wall, I believe they're FRP, right, Scott?
Plastic.
And what's their lifespan on leaking into the ground?
Scott with Regards Architects. Those underground tanks and the lines are all controlled by the state fire marshal. They're double walled. There's sensors in them so that if there's ever a leak, they're immediately shut down and they're not allowed to open up again until the state fire marshal inspects and approves them. So the intent is that there won't be any leakage into the ground. So it's considered a double redundancy system. Now, the lifespan of those, I honestly couldn't tell you, but they are intended to last for much longer than the steel tanks used to be used in the underground. So, but the state fire marshal will regulate that and will monitor it. And if there's ever a leak, it's immediately shut down until it's fixed.
Any other questions from commissioners?
No.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? What's it, man?
I was gonna say that is,
You go up to the speaker because we can't really hear you. Thank you.
at this time, that's a four-way stop. There's no light there. When it's rush hour, probably between 3 and 6, 7 o'clock, Route 6 will back up all the way to 355 and on the other way, all the way to our neighborhood because people coming and going from work. I mean, it's a highly residential area. If they're gonna put this up before possibly getting a light, then this is gonna be insane. There's nowhere, like you said, there are ambulances up there all the time. We've got Silver Cross down the road. There's nowhere to pull over. There's people right across the street that will park on the side of the road to go to the trail. I mean, people are in and out of this area all the time. It's not equipped for a business. And also, this is more of a scenic area, and you're also gonna take down all these trees, which we've already have all these issues with global warming, and it's like you're just keep putting up more businesses, and the environment is just getting worse and worse. It's not a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Leonard, that's a good point. Is there any way of verifying from the state when they will actually get their act together and actually put the lights in? Because they probably really would need them.
All I know is the contract's been fully executed. There's a 60 working day time frame established in their contract, is what I found on the internet. As far as start date, yeah, I don't know for sure. But I would anticipate it's gonna start this year and be done before the end of the paving season, for sure.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, commissioners? We have a motion either way on this, Mr. Money?
Thank you.
So moved.
No, approve. To approve.
Second.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Crompton?
No.
Ms. Fide?
No.
Mr. Kella?
No?
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Russodellis?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
No.
It's 3 ayes and 4 noes.
That's correct.
Your math is correct.
Motion is denied this time.
So this will go on to the city council with a recommendation for denial.
Well, yeah, the city council overrules us on anything. They can overrule us anytime they want.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel better if the lights were in system and the roads were for this one. Worry about the ambulance. I wouldn't want to have the heart attack, and I've had one.
Right.
Wait in line.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Our next item is P-6-20, and that's the preliminary plat of Chicagoland Speedway subdivision, and FP-3-20, the final plat of Chicagoland Speedway Subdivision Unit 1. The applicant in this matter is Hillwood Investment Partners. They are the developer. The owner is Chicagoland Speedway LLC. They are requesting approval of a preliminary and final plat to allow the future development of an industrial subdivision. The existing zoning is I-1, light industrial. Location, West Laraway Road and East Road. Size of the preliminary plat is 441 acres. The final plat is 82.3 acres. Existing land use is undeveloped industrial. Surrounding land use and zoning. To the north is industrial, and that would be the Joliet Junior College Agricultural Building and Forest Preserve Administration Building. I-1 zoning, as well as unincorporated Will County parcels. To the south is residential and agricultural, unincorporated Will County. To the east is residential and agricultural, R1, City of Joliet, as well as unincorporated Will County parcels. To the west is the racetrack, and that is zoned I-1, light industrial. Under site history, the subject property was annexed and zoned to I-1 in January 1999 as part of the Chicagoland Speedway racetrack development. Special information, the approval of the preliminary plat and the Unit 1 final plat for Chicagoland Speedway subdivision will allow a future multi-lot industrial park. The preliminary plat is made up of 2 buildable lots, 2 stormwater detention areas, a private road, and 3 lots that will not be developed at this time. The final plat consists of 2 buildable lots. Lot 1 consists of 76.5 acres, and Lot 3 consists of 109.5 acres. Lot 3 is likely to be re-subdivided in the future as the developer gets demand. The final plat also includes the private road lot, which is Lot 2. Up to 4 warehouse distribution buildings of various sizes are likely to be developed in the park, but there are no known users at this time. Access to all lots within the development will be from Laraway Road onto the proposed Bob Steffes Road. All public improvements will be required as per the subdivision regulations and Public Works and Utilities Department. This will include a future bike trail along Laraway Road to connect to the adjacent Wapunzie Glacial Trail path. Water and sewer connection fees and developer impact fees will be required. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Do we have the petitioner on hand?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Plan Commission. I'm Don Schoenheider. I'm the Midwest partner with Hillwood Investment Properties, based here in Chicago. Hillwood, for those of you who aren't aware, is an international real estate investment and development firm based in Dallas. We're owned by the Perot family. If that name's familiar, Ross Perot Jr. Ross Perot unfortunately passed away last year, but Ross Jr. is our chairman. We've developed over 200 million square feet of light warehouse, manufacturing, industrial facilities around the world. And we've actually developed 2 buildings of nearly 2 million square feet here in the city of Joliet over the last 5 years. We're here to ask for your approval of, as Kendall mentioned, the subdivision of a portion of the Chicagoland Speedway site. Hillwood was engaged by the NASCAR team several months ago to help them evaluate excess land sites that they may have on their track sites around the country. A lot of these sites, much like Chicagoland Speedway, are so big that given the business and the business model going forward, NASCAR made a decision that some of this land and some of these site locations could be excess land. And so they brought us in. We're their partner on about a dozen or so of these sites, looking to help them monetize small portions of these for future use. We've been working closely with Kendall and Derek, engineering and public works staff. Our site and subdivision meets all the requirements, both from a zoning and a comprehensive plan standpoint, as well as from a development design standpoint. We've had a very detailed traffic engineering study done which is part of your packet. Our traffic engineer is with us tonight, as well as our civil engineer from Jacob and Hefner, if you have questions as well. As Kendall mentioned, we don't have an imminent user. We've had some ongoing interest from various companies over the last few months since we started to look at this site. But our goal would be to develop a high-quality light manufacturing warehouse distribution site that would, again, comply with all zoning codes, all requirements of the city, and all the development and any off-site related development would be in accordance with what staff has asked us to do from an access and traffic standpoint as well. So with me is Scott Paddock from NASCAR, and I think he'd like to just say a quick word.
Well, good afternoon. Appreciate the opportunity to address the Plan Commission. So I thought a familiar face may be well received. So I just want to emphasize that this is a partnership across 16 NASCAR-owned facilities around the country. Nothing unique to Chicagoland Speedway, and we've certainly done our due diligence. Hillwood, family-owned business, much like our family-owned business at NASCAR, third generation. They do things the right way in the communities in which they operate, and I think you've sensed that with their relationship so far in the city. And we're proud of the relationship we've had in the city for the last 20 years, the economic impact that we've created for the city of Joliet, the partnership with Joliet Township High School, the work that we've done in concert with NASCAR's foundation to give back to deserving charities across the community. And I just want to emphasize, this isn't a sale. This is very much a joint venture partnership between a longtime partner here in the city, Chicagoland Speedway, and a company that shares our values. And, I'd also like to just add, the NASCAR industry has had its share of financial headwinds over the last decade. And partnerships like this and development projects like this are important with utilizing and leveraging our unused real estate to drive some value back to the company to be able to sustain our core business operations. So this is a development project that's very important to us. So thank you.
Are there any questions from the commissioners about any of this?
Yeah, I have some questions on the traffic study.
Go ahead.
Is he here? Or she's here? Okay, great.
Good evening, Sarah Disney Hoffey with Sam Schwartz. I'm happy to answer any questions you
Okay.
have.
Did this traffic study include the projected traffic from the development of the site currently? Or that would result from the build on the Speedway site?
The proposed buildings on this site, yes, we considered the light manufacturing, warehousing, distribution center type uses that are proposed as part of this development. We also took into account the additional traffic that will be generated in this area as a result of the remaining buildings on the Laraway Crossings site, the planned Speedway gas station at the corner of 53 and Emerald, and we also account for just general background growth in traffic that accounts for any developments that may not be planned yet or that are not in the specific vicinity of this project.
But you also have it's also included, as I read it, the current traffic site. So, and based on this, you're saying that there's a 2% compounded yearly annual growth on these roads. Is that correct on some of them, from 2 to 3%?
It ranged from about 2 to 4% annually, correct?
So every year, the traffic would increase by 2 to 4% year after year after year.
And that's based on projections from the Metropolitan Planning Agency, CMAP, correct?
Okay.
But that does not have projections of accidental truck traffic because of like North Point facilities, correct?
I'm sorry. Oh, what's in this direction?
Over here. Yeah. Because
Um,
that's my concern, is where this traffic is getting dumped on. It would be 53, correct?
You're saying accidental traffic?
Well, from like, we've been, Compass Business Park is a big deal in our area right now. So
Yes.
I hear that you're talking about numbers as they are now. My concern is in theory, this truck traffic from North Point would be going on to 80, and there would be a bridge connecting that to keep that, but I'm guessing there is gonna be accidental traffic still on 53, and we all know now that 53 is a complete mess as it is. So when you're saying 2 to 4% as of right now, I mean, we do have a very huge facility coming in that I'm assuming some of that traffic is going to be increased, but it doesn't sound like that's accounted for in your numbers.
That would be accounted for in the background growth rate, perhaps not that specific development, but I would point out that one of the things that we verified as part of this study is that you guys may already be aware, the Illinois Department of Transportation is currently in phase 1 of a phase 3 or 3-phase process to assess traffic from I-80 down to Arsenal Road along 53 due to the safety and congestion issues that are currently present along that corridor. So the manner in which we organized our study was evaluate how traffic operates today, existing conditions, look at how traffic would operate 5 years after this site is completed without this development, and accounting for the planned improvements, the other developments that are coming in, and for those that we couldn't specifically account for, since this project was contemplated before Compass was a big Joliet development. We included that background growth rate applied to existing traffic. And then after assessing that, then add this development on top of that and figure out what kind of improvements are necessary to accommodate it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It just sounds interesting though, because one of the things that this gentleman over here said was that we were just approached in the past couple of months from NASCAR to do this, and it sounds like this project's actually way more fully developed than that, right?
No, if I may. No, we've had discussions with NASCAR for the last year or so. We actually have submitted this plan a few months ago to the city, and staff asked us to slow down a little bit because of everything going on with the North Point project and council's desire to kind of evaluate what was happening with traffic. So this has actually been something that's been ready to go for 60 or 90 days. So when I said a couple months, that was the message there was we were ready to go a couple months ago, but we've actually been working with NASCAR for about a year.
I just have some statements. I just think that based on all of the properties that we have recently acquired in terms of the city for warehousing, I find it difficult to move forward until we get a better idea of what the traffic is going to be looking like. I'm not saying no permanently, but certainly not now, not until we get all these road improvements and we take a look at what the I-80 Hobart Bridge looks like and how that impacts all this stuff. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. As much as I like growth and development, I think that this is a great project just at the wrong time here. I don't think that the infrastructure, based on the traffic study, we have another traffic study coming out in a few months, and I don't see the big rush here to do this. I think we need to digest some of the things that are going on, and the traffic there is just atrocious. So I would feel very uncomfortable going forward with that, and I'd like to say that. So,
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple questions, if I may. I didn't see, is there a proposed streetlight at 53, on Laraway, if that's where the traffic's dumping out on?
Each of the access points that would serve this development are proposed to operate under stop control. I'm sure you guys have heard this from traffic engineers before, but there are federal standards by which you assess whether a new traffic signal can be put in place, and it looks at how much traffic is on the crossing street and also how much traffic is on the side street. And based on the amount of traffic that's expected to be generated by this development, it wouldn't meet that federal criteria for adding a new signal. But what we are projecting is levels of service A, B, or C for each of those access driveways. There would be dedicated left turn lanes striped on Laraway Road to accommodate turns in, and appropriate striping on the side streets to accommodate the traffic out to facilitate that acceptable level of operation.
Thank you. One other question, Mr. Chairman. I was out there today looking at the site, and I noticed, I know it's not part of the Speedway or the Hillwood, but I noticed ComEd was installing, it seemed like towers is that raising, ComEd was out there, it looked like they were putting a new tower next to some existing towers. I was just curious if this is part for this development.
I don't believe those are new towers. I think that's a project where they're reinforcing existing towers that are already there.
Thank you.
So, and if I could just add, I think it's important to note that, we're presenting the full vision for what this could be, but this is a phased approach that's going to take several years to develop. And one of the Plan Commission members alluded to the Holboat Bridge, so I think it's important to note that that bridge will be developed and online well before this project, I believe, will be completed. So I think we all feel good about the relief that that's going to provide.
Yeah, I have a comment, reminding the commissioners, a couple months ago, we had a project, and it's a big project just south of this group. And the whole basis of that project was to have a bridge, and they have to build a bridge to alleviate the 53 traffic. This is adding back to 53 traffic.
Right.
I don't know, like, you know, you could put something like this inside that big project out there, where they take the double bridges, Holboat, and then the other bridge they have to build. But that company had to build that bridge in order to get an occupant permanency.
Yeah,
And we said, we don't want them on 53 to alleviate that.
Yeah, again, Mr. Chairman, I'd, like I said, I'd much rather wait to see where we're at in terms of traffic after all these other improvements and businesses have started to move forward. But right now, we've been getting a lot of pushback from residents and people and for this, and I just don't want to get ahead of ourselves right now until some of those traffic issues have been at least addressed. I mean, here you have IDOT going to do another traffic study in another month or a couple of months. So I mean, I don't see, I just don't see it right now, to be frankly honest. So,
Are there any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Anybody from the public that wanted to say something? Well, do we have a motion one way or the other way on this?
I motion to deny approval.
Do we have a second on the motion to deny?
Second.
I have a second. Take roll call.
Ms. Fidey?
I'm just gonna say this before I cast my vote, that I think that if we hold, and even for future projects, if we're holding one company accountable for something like keeping traffic off of a road, we need to take that in consideration for all future ones. And I just don't see how we can hold, Compass Park responsible and not everybody else. 53 is a disaster, and as you've said, we've all heard it from the residents, and I just can't in good conscience vote for something to make it, make it worse, so my vote's no.
No, it's the other, it's a vote to.
Nay. Or, I'm sorry, for denial, so I vote yes, yay for denial.
Mr. Kella?
Yes.
Mr. Rosanellis?
Yes for denial.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
I gotta agree with Bridget. You can vote one person account, we're gonna vote everybody. Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so this will go on to city council with a recommendation for denial.
Okay.
Yeah, just remind them it was a complete, one time we all agreed on something.
That will be part of the record. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we will move on to new business, public hearing. We have two items, ZO-2-20 and ZO-3-20. Both are in regards to a proposal for an annual payment in lieu of taxes ordinance. The proposed ordinance is to require the annual payment in lieu of taxes as a condition of a special use permit for truck parking and truck terminals needs to be tabled to the September 17th Plan Commission meeting in order to provide staff additional time to research the proposed fee amounts. The request was made by the city's Economic Development Committee, and staff is in favor of this request. So a motion would be in order for a tabling to September 17th.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second to table.
Roll call?
Mr. Kella? Aye. Mr. Rosanellis?
Aye.
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Fidey?
Aye.
Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Thank you. We have no items under old or new business, not for final action or recommendation. Our next section will be for public comments. And this is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items. The 4-minute limit is in effect. Seeing none, a motion would be in order for adjournment.
Do you have a motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Caparelli?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crompton?
Aye.
Ms. Fidey?
Aye.
Mr. Kella?
Aye.
Mr. Rosanellis? Mr. Dillon?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman and board, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.